All right, let's talk Chiefs Texans here. So I already made a video talking about Mahomes and how he might go up against this Texans defense. Let's do the other side of the ball now. This Texans offense that has been, I think, inconsistent this year is a fair thing to call it, against the Chiefs defense that's been very consistent. It kind of had a bit of a rough patch in the middle of the year, but for the most part has still been very good. So what we're going to do in this video is talk about some numbers, then we'll get into some film, and finally I will give my predictions on who I think will win this game. So first, let's use this chart to familiarize ourselves with these two teams. This is where each of these teams ranked in terms of PFF grades this season. You see that the Texans are 13th in passing, 12th in receiving. Obviously, injuries have played a big part in their receiving core not being what it was. So I'd actually say it's probably a little worse than 12th now, with no Stephon Diggs, no Tank Dell, who got injured the last time these two teams played. Chiefs coverage, very good, third best in football. Pass blocking, not great for Houston at 19th, which isn't quite as bad as some people might think, but still not great. 10th highest graded pass rush for Kansas City, so they will have opportunities to create pressure in this game. That is a disadvantage for Houston, and especially when you factor in, guys, someone like Chris Jones, who can really take over a game. It is also worth, I think, mentioning in a situation like this, the blitzing is going to be a part of this. So some of that is blitzing grades as well with, Kansas City. Everyone rushes the passer there. So that's something we'll get into when we get into film. The running game, so the Texans have been a good, actually, running, like when they, the ball carrier has been pretty good at it, but 27th highest graded run blocking unit. That's not ideal. Chiefs do a good job at stopping the run. So that's according to PFF where these teams are. But let's get into some more numbers here. If we want to look at some PFF grades for their key receivers, one of the issues with this is that two of their key receivers are out, Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs. You see Dell at the top of the screen was really good against man, and he had a great game the last time these two teams played each other. He won't be playing in this game. Dalton Schultz can be a contributor whether it's man or zone. Nico Collins is the key to this game for Houston. If Nico Collins has like 50 yards, the Texans lose. It's over. I legitimately think he has to have a good day for them to have a chance. The good news is he's a good player who's very capable of having a good day. That's the good news if you're a Texans fan. So he's someone who's going to have to be a contributor. Of course, the Chiefs, they will play some zone, but they love to play their man coverage. That's what they want to do. Diggs is also a contributor. John Mechie is more of a zone guy. Joe Mixon can contribute in man coverage, but really, kind of their key guys were Tank Dell and Nico Collins against man, with some Diggs in there as well. Diggs is out. Dell is out. Nico Collins might have to just carry a lot of the load here. Also, I had to look at CJ Stroud's blitzing numbers when it comes to playing Steve Spagnuolo, who blitzes fourth most in the NFL this season. But you see Stroud not really phased either way. You see his PFF grade and passer rating, one blitzed or one not blitzed. PFF grade does go up 5 points when he's blitzed. Passer rating goes down 2 points, one blitzed. Essentially a wash. None of these numbers are significant enough for me to say one way or the other, but it does at least go to show that, some guys really struggle against the blitz. That won't be Stroud. He's going to be Stroud whether it's a blitz or just dropping back and playing coverage. If we look at the numbers last time these two teams played each other, as I mentioned, Tank Dell had a great day. So if we look at the receiving, 98 receiving yards and a touchdown. The touchdown was a big play as it tied the game, if I remember correctly. Yes, I believe it put them down a point, and then they missed the extra point, actually, is what happened. But it put them, very much in the game. Ultimately, he gets injured in that play, and that's the injury that, he's still out for. That injury made it a 17-16 game early on in the third quarter with 11 minutes left in the third quarter. They only scored 3 more points they only had 3 more possessions because the Chiefs run so many long drives, but on their next 3 possessions, 1 field goal and 2 3-and-outs. So losing him hurt. Nico Collins was a factor in that game. 60 yards. He was a player. Dalton Schultz had a big touchdown. Then you had guys like Robert Woods, Joe Mixon, and then Xavier Hutchinson had a catch. But really, I think Collins is going to have to be the guy here. As for the ground game, so Joe Mixon had 14 carries for 57 yards. Hard to imagine them winning or losing the game off of Joe Mixon. Maybe if they get up big, and we saw what he was able to do against the Chargers, but At the end of the day, I think he's a good back. Not the best blocking stuff for him. You're not winning this game with him getting 30 carries, I think. Like, they're going to need to throw the ball effectively. Or you look at CJ Stroud, 2 carries for 23 yards. He ran the ball against the Chargers. He's a good runner. I want to see him run the ball more. And I think in a game like this, he might just have to take off and run with the Chiefs playing a lot of man coverage. So first, let's talk about Nico Collins. So he's going to get one-on-one matchups. I mean, Tank Dell was such a factor, but Nico Collins is their number one option. He is their best player. You're going to see him with these one-on-ones, and he's someone who can really, do a lot of damage against one-on-one matchups. You saw his numbers against man coverage. He's very good at that stuff. On this play, the Chiefs are doing what they like to do, which is this cover 2 man. It's really hard to pass because you can't go down the field. And if you can't go down the field, the corners know I don't have to worry about getting beat down the field. So I can just, make sure I don't have to, worry about getting beat that way. You see it's Joshua Williams covering the route you see on your screen, which is Nico Collins' route. Stroud's going to take the snap. It's a 3rd down and 12 too. So, important play. He has a clean pocket, fires towards Nico Collins. And maybe this was a miscommunication. I don't know. But this is open. And these are the plays that you're just going to have to hit if you want to win this game. Stroud airmails it and it gets intercepted. Stroud had 2 interceptions and only had 8 possessions last time. That's kind of what happens against the Chiefs. You can't turn the ball over against them if you want to win. If you turn the ball over twice, you essentially now get 6 possessions to try and beat them. You're just not going to, probably. So, they're going to have to be better there. Make sure, Stroud just going to have to play better. And Stroud actually did play pretty well outside of the 2 interceptions, I thought. Like, for example, this one, it's more or less the same thing. Slightly different coverage, but the same idea. You have Collins going over the middle. Stroud's going to take the snap. He runs a play action because it's only 1st down and 10. But you have a one-on-one matchup with Collins. This time a much better throw. Collins, I would say, won most of his reps against Joshua Williams last time they played, and I think they'll probably do that similarly. Maybe you'll see Trent McDuffie on him to some degree as well, but at the end of the day, I trust Nico Collins one-on-one, and the Chiefs will give you those one-on-one matchups. This is something that you have to take advantage of and eventually force the Chiefs to put the resources somewhere else. I want to talk about the blitzing as well, because again, we all know Steve Spagnuolo loves to blitz, so here's how you can beat a blitz. So you see the blitz is coming from right there, the defensive back. The Chiefs like to do these defensive back blitzes, and as the old expression goes, you want to throw it to where the blitzer is coming from, because there usually is, if it's a disguise, there usually is going to be a little bit of a window here. Stroud takes a snap. It's a 3rd down and 9. He throws this one a little bit off balance, and they just can't quite make the play. It was a catchable ball, certainly a competitive ball, just not quite able to make that play on that one. You got to be able to hit these as well, because if you can hit these at a high level, well, now all of a sudden your passing game's working and you can kind of keep up with Kansas City. So they weren't that far away. But here's the flip side. This is a 3rd down and 11 here, so a bit tougher. But you see it's a passing play. You see the blocking concept that they have for if it's a blitz. So you have the halfback in who's blocking. So if the Kansas City Chiefs decide to send an extra rusher, well, then you're good. The center will be blocking towards the right. And so what this means is that you have 3 players blocking the 2 Kansas City players on that side of the field. But that's how you want to block on this play. And you have protection for the other linebacker who appears as though he could be blitzing. Here's the issue. That defensive back is also going to be blitzing. He's lined up as though he's covering Dalton Schultz, but because they have 2 safeties deep, a safety will pick up Schultz, and since it's a 3rd and 11, quickly throwing it to him and gaining 5 yards isn't really doing you a lot of good right here. This is what Steve Spagnuolo wants to do, and you have to be kind of ready for this, really, if you're CJ Stroud. Now, that might mean just make sure you get the blocking, the protection set up this way, where you have the, if you see someone is near the offensive line as an eligible receiver, it might just make sense to make sure you have the extra offensive lineman blocking that side of the field, just so you have someone to block everybody, or just read the play. Once this ball is snapped, Stroud seems like he does kind of read the play, but tries to get out of it and just isn't able to do that. Joshua Williams, that was the corner who gets the sack right there. You don't want to have that happen. I know it's 3rd and 11, but you still don't want to lose that. And again, keep in mind the situation. In my memory of this game, it was like a kind of a blowout, but this is an 8-point game with 4 minutes left. I mean, if you convert this 1st down, you had a chance. So I'm not saying they would have won, but they had a chance for sure. So got to be better at that stuff. The other factor I want to talk about is Stroud's legs. I kind of brought this up earlier, but if you have man coverage, well, this is a couple things that can happen. So it's a man blitz. You have 5 players rushing the passer. First is that 5 defenders are looking, towards the guy they're supposed to cover, not looking towards Stroud. He has an opportunity to run. But also even something like this, where the blitz is really picked up, Stroud does a good job of getting outside the pocket, and just this is deadly, extending plays. I think Stroud's going to have to use his legs a little bit in this game. Like I said, he's really good at it. He just doesn't always like to, but here you're going to have to. And watch him eventually find Nico Collins, because you're not going to cover him for forever, and Collins is able to pick up a big gain. I mean, that's good stuff by Collins, good stuff by Stroud, and if you're a Texans fan, you're going to need to see this if the Texans are going to pull off this upset. So in conclusion, the Houston Texans have made the playoffs 8 times in their history. Keep in mind, they're a relatively new franchise. They've made the playoffs 8 times. They've won wildcard weekend 6 of those times. They've won in the divisional round 0 of those times. Will this finally be the year they can get to a conference championship game? Well, this is my predictions for how this side of the ball will go. The Texans on average this season score 1.88 points per drive, which isn't great. The Chiefs give up a very good, just 2 on the dot defensive points per drive. The first time the Texans did better than usual, they got 2.38 points per drive. As I mentioned, a big part of that was Tank Dell, and while I do think they might be a little bit more prepared, having seen Spagnuolo another time, I still don't know if this is going to go great for Houston. 2.1 points per drive, which would be a solid performance against this Chiefs defense. So my final prediction is actually just Chiefs 20, Texans 17, because I'm only projecting an 8-possession game, and to me, that's where the Texans have the best upset potential. The Chiefs do kind of play with fire with their long possessions, and they do a good job at protecting the football, but can things go haywire, or can Houston just make some plays? I think it's possible. So yes, the Texans can win this game. No, I am not projecting it to happen. I don't think that's the most likely outcome. But again, it's football. Things can go wrong and things can go right. So do not count Houston out, but also only a fool would bet against the Chiefs after what we've seen the past 3 seasons. So yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.